Welcome to the Driven Moms Answering Adversity interview series, Stories of Success Through Setbacks from Mom Elevated. Together, we can shine a light on how normal challenges and struggles are, along with how we can overcome and rise above them. And today we have Ella to share her story with us. I'm so excited to get started. So, Ella, would you mind letting us know a little bit briefly about your story to get us going?
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Jessica. I'm so excited to share your platform and meet you, your audience. My name is Ella. I am where do I start from? Okay, I'm a transition coach and I help moms and women navigate life changes so that they can be more productive, become more confident, and get clear. And I also help moms start up businesses from just being an idea until they get their ideal clear. Now, I am an ex-corporate girl. So a little bit about myself. I started my corporate journey over 20 years ago, just as a fresher leaving graduate school and trying to find my place in the workplace. And I like to say I started from the bottom because I didn't quite get into the graduate program like everybody else. So I had to find my way to fit into the corporate world, what I really wanted to do. And I started from the bottom, but being an office assistant, filing papers until I worked my way to becoming an investment analyst. And then I did that for over 20 years. And then I decided to follow my passion because I'd always help friends of mine just navigate life and just get through hard times. And I remember just before the pandemic having to think I want to leave my corporate job. I didn't know the world was going to stop. So I just thought, okay, it's time to leave. And I was making plans to, start up the business, figure out what it would be. And I then realized I was pregnant. And then the pandemic happened. And so whilst everything was ongoing, I'd say, at your bridge farm because I was at my bridge at that time. In the space of my corporate journey, so many times I had to, when I became a mom, I had to, leave work for a while and then had to figure my way how to get back in. I had to always explain myself. I lost my confidence. I didn't know who I was. I needed to find Ella because I was mom, but I wasn't mom. I wasn't Ella. So I needed to find that wholeness, and that really began my journey into helping women navigate transition because I've had so many transitions in my life from corporate to getting out, to becoming a mom, to going back in, to finding my fit on in entrepreneurship. And it's been a lot. And whilst running at Aturbridge, I've been able to help a lot of women navigate like life and career changes, just so that we can build our confidence, so that we can know that our voice is valid, and just loving yourself in the process as you go through change, so that you're not overwhelmed, but you are more productive. That's in a nutshell what I am and who I am and where I started from and where I am right now.
That's amazing. That is quite the journey. Do you think so when you didn't get into the graduate school, I imagine me when I was younger and you have those goals, those aspirations, and you're like, this is it, this is what I'm doing. Was that like a big pivotal moment when you're like, wait a second, I have to reevaluate everything because I still want this overall goal, but that made you make that decision of, is this what I really want? Do I need to pursue this? Or like, how did that shift your mindset when you were like, wait a minute, this is not the path I was waiting for or anticipating? Or did you kind of expect that going into it?
No, I had no idea because, like you say, when you're young, you just feel like you go to college. What you call college, what in UK is university, and you hope to get a graduate job. And all my friends did. They had internship, they got the graduate jobs after. So it was my first like taste of having that confidence, downer and trying to figure out where do I go from here? How do I start? How do I even find my voice in this marketplace that is so male dominated, which is the financial services industry? If you know that industry, you know it's very fast paced, you know it's very male dominated. And just as a woman who as a young woman who was trying to just get into the workplace, my confidence was down because I had a lot of no's and having to start from the bottom, not quite getting in the way that my friends got in. You know, I would always wear the suit to go to work, but I wasn't doing the job. I was the office girl filing the papers of the people who were doing the job. And I did that for a month until I don't know, I just started reading what I was doing. This is why I always say to people, it's not where you start, it's what you do in the middle of where you are and what you do with where you are that takes you to your next step. Because if I never read what I was filing, I would never have known that I could do the job. So when I went to my boss to say, hey, I can do the job. She was like, who's this black girl who's just, you know, the admin assistant think wanting to do? And I said, no, I actually do have a degree. And being able to speak up for myself and just demanding what I knew that I could bring to the table. And I was given 4 weeks to show that I can do the job. And that's really how my career started. So it doesn't matter what if something knocks you down, because life always gives us hands. But I always say is what you do with the hand that life dives you is the accumulation of what you would receive.
That's yeah, absolutely. Oh, kudos to you for that. Here's a big question. So you had the bravery to stand up and say, "Hey, I can do this. I have a degree." What would you say to others who are facing something like that where because it's scary. So I'm sure you had your trepidations and you're like, "Oh," but also what's the worst that could happen, right? They say no. So what how did you get the courage up to go to your boss and say, "Hey, I've been looking these over. I can do this. I have a degree. This is something I can handle." And like have that, like you say, confidence because your confidence had already been shaken. What do you do for somebody who's going, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can stand up and say something.
I always say to my clients that confidence is not, it's not when you know it all. It's about taking one simple uncomfortable action at a time. At that time, it wasn't comfortable for me to go to my boss to say, hey, I can do the job. It was very uncomfortable. In fact, it was really scary. But when I looked at the other option of just wearing my suit every day and filing the papers, that didn't make me happy either. So it was either I do take that uncomfortable action or I stayed unhappy. Both of them were going to either make me drive towards where I want it to be or really stay where I want, you know, where I didn't want to be. And the only thing that I did differently was just do something that was not in my comfort zone. So to that woman who is in that place and thinking, I don't know how I'm going to get to this other side of the journey, or I don't know how I'm going to, you know, how I'll be received. What I will say is that confidence doesn't come when you think you've got it all. It's when you're taking action, and it's one action at a time. It could be you doing something really uncomfortable for a minute that makes you to maybe go ahead and do something uncomfortable for another 5 minutes. But you have to start by doing something that is not in your comfort zone. You might do it afraid, but what do we all say in life? We all do things, we do life afraid because nothing is guaranteed. Is but when you take one step, it becomes, oh, okay, that might work, and then you do another step and then you get more confident because now you've done something that you didn't want to do before, so you're confident to take the next step. And that's how you build confidence. You don't build confidence by saying, I'm going to wait till I master it, or wait till that big opportunity comes. It's really by taking one little uncomfortable step at a time.
That yes, absolutely. I love that. That's a fantastic way to put it too. Let's feel the fear and do it anyway. That's what I've
Yeah.
always heard, but I love that just one uncomfortable step at a time. Because once you do, it does become kind of a habit where you're like, okay, I did that. I can do that again. I can handle that. I can handle
Mm-hmm.
whatever happened. So that was one example of adversity that you answered, and obviously you told us a little bit more along the way, but what do you think is the biggest adversity that you've answered so far, throughout that journey of doing that and then where you're at now with Alter Bridge? What do you think is the biggest adversity that you've answered so far, and how did you answer that?
I think my biggest adversity is being a mom and actually stepping out of being that mom as well. I think it's in both ways, like being a mom and running a business, on being a mom and finding Ella again. Because as women, we're so many things to so many people. We're serving from a cup that is not overflowing and we're not putting into it. So I found that I was serving from this jug that I hadn't put so much into it. So there was no overflow for me to say, hey, I can, I was busy serving, but there was nothing, I wasn't pouring into the cup. And what I always say to my clients, being a mom running a business or getting to that point where you think actually this idea that I've got in my brain shelf can become something tangible, or it doesn't matter what it is. One of my biggest fear was, how do I manage or how do I navigate this journey of leaving the corporate world, being a mom, but also being able to start this business so I can show my daughter that she can do it. She doesn't have to give up her skills for the people that she loves or the things that she loves. She can do both. She can nurture the skills and nurture the business or whatever it is that she loves, but she can also nurture the people that she loves. So one of my biggest adversity was actually leaving my comfort zone of my more than six-figure earning as a consultant to say, now I have to take that leap and do Aturbridge, not just for me, but to set an example for my daughter. And to know that if I was feeling that way, overwhelmed, less confident, not knowing if my voice was heard or having the confidence to know that my voice and my dreams are valid, how many other women are in that position where they feel like they are not being heard? They are mom, but maybe they took a break, but just because they took a break, their skills didn't take a break. So how do I use my own story and the things that I've learned and documented to help other women who are in that position that perhaps are not being heard or feel like they are lost in transition because they became a mom or because they took a break as a wife or whatever life threw at them. So I think my biggest adversity was transitioning, going through that transition. And transition is like, this is why I'm so passionate about transition, because every time in life we're going through the transition. Like, it doesn't matter what your transition is, but we are going through it. But the wheels and the emotions of transition, they're always similar to every transition that you go through. Is how do you manage that? So my biggest obstacle so far was managing, just taking that leap to leave my corporate job, what I was securing, um, to navigating like being a mom and like, how do I nurture this other baby that I have in
Yeah.
my head with these babies that I have, like that are depending on me. Both are depending on me for them to, grow up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so that's such an important lesson too. Do you also feel that like having become a mom, a lot of people think that it can't like that it negatively impacts you, but I feel like it's a really positive thing, especially in the business world, because I feel like we do have to navigate so much and we do start to learn how to nurture somebody else, how to grow somebody else. So I actually feel like it makes you stronger in personal development because you're like, "Oh man, I have to really up my own skills to be able to teach this tiny human what I want to teach them."
Mhm.
So I feel like it's really transferable skills to the business world as well. I've learned a lot from being a mom.
Absolutely. You know what I always say to clients that come to me and say, well, I have worked or I have this idea. I don't think that anyone is going to want it because I'm just a mom. I'm like, no, because you, like you just said, being a mom, there's so many, like, even if you're a homemaker, or what do they call it these days? Because we're not allowed to say housewives anymore. But even though you're just, raising the babies at home, you still have to put that routine. You have to make sure that you have a well tight schedule for you to look after the babies. If you're homeschooling, if you are going to have time for yourself, and if you're going to help them with, if you're going to do house chores, you have to really multitask. What do you need if you want to run a business? You have to be able to know how to delegate and apportion things. And that's what we moms do. We, even though we tend to do things by ourselves, but we often, have that schedule where we go here, we take them to soccer, we do all of that. So all of those skills are everything that you need in a business. So everyone that says I'm just a mom, I'm like, no, you're not just a mom. If I ask you what you do in a day, I can pick out 10 skills that you need, that you can transfer into whether you want to go back into work or whether you want to start your own business.
Yes. Oh, I love that you said that. That's so true. And I hope that people take that away from this lesson, especially. Like that is huge because it can be scary. But it's that one uncomfortable step. You just have to decide
Mm-hmm.
what that uncomfortable step is going to be that you're taking. What do you think it is about entrepreneurs that makes us continue on through challenges without giving up when it's tough? Whether whether the mom decides to go into business or whatever it is, but as an entrepreneur, once we've started, I feel like you don't ever turn back. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I might go back to get a part-time job while I'm supporting this, but I'm going to continue and I'm going to see this through. What do you think it is about us that
Think I use the same analogy. When you
okay.
give birth to a baby, you don't give up on the baby because the baby doesn't work at 12 months. You encourage it to stand, and then you encourage it to come and get something from you. You never ever throw your child away. So when starting up a business is like giving birth to a child, that vision, that idea, that passion has stayed on your inside for however long it stayed, for you to finally have the courage to say, I want the world to hear this. I want to make a difference. So if you see your business as your baby, you never turn your back on your child, even though they are not. Sometimes they're like, you're literally like thinking, I don't have any more to give. But when you sit down, take 5 minutes, take half an hour, whatever time that you take, and you have a little breather, you come back and you still love that child. You say, you might have made me mad, but you still come and protect the child. That's how it is for entrepreneurs. Like every time I'm thinking, I don't know how to do this business, it's not giving me the financial reward. Like, maybe I should go off and just carry and, go back to my corporate thing, because my skills have not gone away. I'm still a specialist in that, so I can really go back. But then I'm like, but what happens to the millions of women who would hear my story and say, if she can do, if Ella can do it, then I can do it? What happens to this child that I gave birth to? How am I just going to leave it on the way because it got a little bit difficult, or it gets lonely? Because it is lonely when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's very, very lonely. So that's why I always say to my clients, it's so important that you find a support group, find an account somewhere where you can just say, today was not good, or hey, I need help here, or can someone give me a pointer? Like, you don't, the amount of support that you get from people that are in that same space as you are, it gives you that encouragement when you feel like the baby is crying too much, or the business is, feels like that. Then you kind of find hope that she's doing it. What's wrong with me? Why do I want to give up on my child? You just don't give up on your child. And I think that's the way I see entrepreneurship. I can get weary, I can get lonely, I can get deflated, but like I say, if I take one step, uncomfortable step, and say, well, I'm going to go ask for help, or maybe I'm going to take a break because I need a breather to get my creative flow back, or maybe I just need to delegate. And then I fall back in love with the baby, and I'm like, oh, I can do this. I can maybe do something different to spice it up. But you never give up, and you just keep going. You keep going until you keep going. There's no like until you stop. It's like until you keep going, because the more that you see lives change, the more that even if it's just one person, it's like, ah, she's still here. Okay, I'll keep going.
I do love that. Oh, that's a beautiful analogy too. I don't think anybody's drawn that conclusion yet, but that is a beautiful analogy because I also tell people that your business is your baby and you have to learn how to juggle them both and navigate that and find your center because it's not one or the other. It is now everything married in one. And so it's just like now I have 4 kids. I don't have 3. But I
Exactly.
do love that. That is phenomenal because it's true. Like that is you're not going to give up. It is we're going through the terrible twos right now, right? Like that's kind of the stages you go through and that's a really great way to look at it actually. I think that's
One
beautiful.
of the things that really helped me that I forgot to say is having a journal. I know that many people think that journaling is about woo woo, but I always say when I teach my clients around, how do we center ourselves and get back online and get back on track when whether you're going through life or you're navigating business. I don't know the amount of journals that I have, but there are 3 things that come out from when you take something out of your head. You will either going to expand on an idea, you're going to throw things that you don't need that are sitting in your head, causing you to, worry and overstress, and you're going to get new ideas. So if you're running a business or you're looking to run a business or you're just navigating life, I strongly advise that you get yourself a journal, because there's something that goes from when the connection from your head to your hand when you start putting things down. I know I'm the old fashioned, I don't want to use my phone to journal, like things, I want you to get a book and a pen and realize the power of getting those thoughts out, because they will always come. So there are times where you're going to feel like you say, like you're going through the terrible twos and you're just writing it out. And sometimes the moment that you write it out, you kind of figure like, okay, that I didn't need to feel that way. Maybe I was bidding myself, oh, maybe that idea, I can expand on it. Oh, this wasn't such a good idea. Why was it even in my head?
Yes.
There's such amazing things happen when you write. So I always say, get yourself a business journal, get yourself a journal. Like whatever you in life, you need a journal.
Yep. I 100% agree. One of the previous guests actually also touched on the same thing about getting it out on paper. And the importance is that it takes it from being what you believe to be truth as something that you can read and see, and it becomes a story that you can then discern whether or not it's fact or just something that you've been telling yourself, and you can pull out the truths from it and then you can start to reframe those thoughts. And I thought that was so powerful because it is true. I also have reflection points in the mentorship that I offer as well, and it's about being able to really reflect on those moments and see what's going well, what's not going well, what story you're telling yourself, right? And how to
Mm,
dissect it because that's if you don't have those checkpoints, it's so easy to just snowball out of control and think that it's worse than it is, even in
exactly.
cases. Yeah. So what do you think is the biggest takeaway or lesson that other mompreneurs can take specifically from your experience that we've discussed today?
I think if there's one thing that I would say, it's give yourself grace. Because I found that when I was like taking this leap, from doing corporate to saying, should I start the business? Should I keep going? Should I, a lot of times when life takes us in different directions and you feel like you're pulled or maybe you're a bit discouraged, the one thing that's really helped me is when one of my mentors said, is well, number one, give yourself permission to start and then give yourself grace along the way. Because we're so good at being so hard on ourselves. It's like someone once said to me, if you spoke to if if you looked at or listened to how you spoke to yourself in your head to your friend, would you still be your friend? So a lot of us speak to ourselves like the things that the communication that you're having, which I call like board members in your head. Like if you were the friend on the other side, you wouldn't want to be friends with yourself. So why would you talk to yourself that way if you don't want that kind of relationship with somebody else? And I don't think we look at those voices in our head, those limiting beliefs, that overwhelm that we feel, or that pressure that we feel in that moment. And when you start saying to yourself, "Oh, you're not good enough," or "You're not," "Oh, look at that person over there, their business is going," or "Oh, there's no one coming to my live," or "No one knows about my product." If someone talk to you that way, you don't want to be in that presence for a long time. So why would you talk? Why should you allow you to talk to yourself like that?
Yeah.
So give yourself grace and start talking to yourself the way you want your bestie to talk to you.
I love that. That's a really great way, as you were saying with journaling and stuff too, as you're writing things down, I think that would be a really, really great way to reframe it is say, okay, this is what I'm saying to myself. What would I say to my friend if they told me that? And then write down underneath the reframing thought of, this is what I'm telling myself, but this is what we should be saying. I think that's really powerful. I love that. I think that's great. So how would people find you? Obviously, I will drop links in the description as well, but in case they're just hearing and listening along the way, how will they get in contact with you if they want to learn more about you or work with you or find more about you?
I'm on IG at Aturbridge, which is ATUR bridge. On IG. I'm on LinkedIn as well at Ella ID Ayomi on LinkedIn. You can also find me at www.atyourbridge.com. If you would like to work with me, you can search for me on Instagram at your bridge. On the bio, that there's ways that you can work with me. I have different programs and currently offering my one-to-one program at the moment, which I call Thrive. Exactly what I've just said. It's just helping you to thrive through life transition, no matter where you are going or no matter where you are at. And if at all you have that idea that's sitting in your brain shelf and you're kind of looking like, I need support and accountability to get this out, then I'm your gal.
That's beautiful. Can I ask too, um, is at your bridge, is that like so that you can help them get across to their next? Is that how you came up with that, or where did that come
Yeah,
from?
that at Aturbridge we did a funny story because I told you that when I was pregnant, I was thinking, what would I call this business? And as I was puking, being really sick, I just thought I felt like I was at the bridge of should I go now? If I don't take this leap now, I will not do it. And then I wrote it down. I thought, oh, actually, this is where this is what the business should be called. Because right now I feel like I'm at this bridge and I need to get over there. What would I need to be able to get to that other side of the bridge? And I
That
put myself in so many women's positions, and I'm thinking, when you're thinking that you are in that place, whether you're excited to take your next level or whether you are afraid of that next level, you actually need to take those steps in between. And those are the in-betweens that no one talks about. We go to all of these programs and we like get hyped up, but no one really talks about what are the practical steps that I need to get to the other side. And that's how Aturbridge came. It was my personal journey where how I was feeling. And I thought, there are 1 million other women that are exactly at this bridge. And that's what we called Aturbridge.
That's fantastic. Oh, I love that. I'm glad I asked. Thank you for the story. Well, with that, thank you so much for joining us today, Ella. It has been delightful. I am so blessed to hear all of your stories and to be able to help share them. As always, your story is inspirational as well, and your willingness to be open about it is incredibly needed, I think, in this space. It helps me listening as I get to hear, so I know it helps others that are listening as well. So thank you for joining today.
Thank you for having me. I had an amazing, amazing time. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you again. And when any of you are facing your own adversity, know you're not alone. That's the whole point of why we're doing what we're doing. You are not alone. We are there as well. And
Um, there are a million of us, billions of, we're all in this together.
absolutely. And when you need an extra hand or mind for brainstorming during your mompreneur journey, we would love to work with you through the Mom Elevated Society or reach out to Aturbridge. You'll find monthly check-ins for goal setting and assessing in the Mom Elevated Society and so much more for both your business and your mom life. And until next time, keep shooting for the stars.